In this problem, we're asked to solve the equation x squared plus 2x plus 3 equals 0. Well, what type of equation is it? You can see the highest power on any of the x's is a 2, so it's a quadratic equation. And how do we solve quadratic equations? We're either going to factor or use the quadratic formula. And whichever method we use, we need to make sure that the equation is in standard form. And remember, this is the standard form of a quadratic equation. What do I need on one side? 0. Do I already have that in this case? Yes. Also, the terms on the left-hand side need to be written in descending order. Are these in descending order? Yes. So I'm ready to go. I can figure out the value of A. A is the coefficient of the x squared term. What number is in front of the x squared? It's a 1. B is equal to the coefficient of the x's, which is 2. And C is the constant term of 3. Now, if I was going to factor it, I'd look at AC. A times C is 1 times 3, which is 3. I need two numbers that multiply to 3, and then they have to add to B, which is 2. So that's what they have to add to. If they multiply to a positive, the signs are the same. If they add to a positive, the signs both have to be positive. Do you know two numbers that multiply to 3 and add to 2 when they have the same signs? No, my only possibility is 1 and 3. 1 times 3 equals 3, but 1 plus 3 equals 4. Therefore, this will not factor, so I'm going to have to use the quadratic formula. And what is the quadratic formula? You need to know it. X is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So what is b? B is 2, so it's the opposite of b, so it's negative 2 plus or minus, b is 2, so it's 2 squared minus 4 times a is 1 and c is 3. And that is all divided by 2 times a, which is 1. So I have negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared is 4, minus 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 3 is 12, all divided by 2. So I have negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 12 is negative 8, all divided by 2. Don't forget that denominator goes under both terms in the numerator. So this is negative 2 plus or minus. Remember, when you have a negative underneath the square root, the first thing you do is you pull out the square root of negative 1 as I. So it's going to be I, the square root of 8 over 2. So now we need to simplify the square root of 8. Well, 8 is 4 times 2, and 4 is a perfect square. So it's negative 2 plus or minus I times the square root of 4 times 2, all divided by 2, which equals negative 2 plus or minus I, the square root of 4 times the square root of 2, all divided by 2, which is negative 2 plus or minus, this square root of 4 is 2, so it's going to be 2i, the square root of 2, all divided by 2. Now notice in this term, and this term are all divisible by 2, so we need to simplify it. And the simplest way to do that is to break it up into two separate terms. So I'm going to have negative 2 divided by 2 plus or minus 2i, the square root of 2 divided by 2, which I can then simplify. 2 goes into here 1 time, 2 goes into there 1, so I'm going to get negative 1 plus or minus 2 goes into here once, 2 goes into there once. So what am I going to get left with? I, the square root of 2. So there is my answer, -1 plus or minus I, the square root of 2. Now don't forget, if you're asked to, you can split this into the two solutions. And what are they? X equals -1 plus I, the square root of 2. And x equals -1 minus I, the square root of 2. It all depends on how you're asked to write your solutions.